Your Excellencies, Your Excellency, Speaker of the Senate, representing President Kabila, Your Excellency Augusta Matata Ponyo, Prime Minister, Democratic Republic of the Congo, honorable ministers, invited guests, dignitaries, maybe at this stage I should say, all protocols observed. I would like to begin by sincerely thanking His Excellency Joseph Kabila, his government, and the people of this country for the extremely warm welcome and hospitality that has been extended to us since our arrival a few days ago. I'm heading a very big delegation from the African Development Bank. It also gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here today to the 2015 African Economic Conference. I would also like to thank the joint organizers with us, the UNDP, which took the lead this year to arrange the conference, the Economic Commission for Africa for their collaboration and their support. So ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from President Adesina of the African Development Bank. He's only 2 months in the job, and a number of commitments have made it difficult for him to travel to Kinshasa, but he looks very much forward to visiting this great country in the very near future. So, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in September 2015, you know that global leaders gathered in New York to adopt the Sustainable Development Goals. But you also know that back home here in Africa, there are a number of constraints which need to be removed in order for us to make progress. The obvious one is a lack of adequate infrastructure, a big concern of our bank. Additionally, structural constraints to employment creation is another major impediment. The inability of our African economies to absorb millions of young people coming to the labor market is a serious threat to the social fabric of Africa, and it lowers our potential. And Africa, especially Sub-Saharan Africa, needs to address extreme poverty. In Sub-Saharan Africa, over 40% of the population survive on less than $2 a day. And indeed, 30% of the world's poorest people live sadly in our continent. So, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to give you an overview of what the African Development Bank aims to do to support countries in their implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. The bank's strategic priorities, you can call them the high five, are the following. 1, to light up Africa, which I've just experienced here today. Feed Africa, industrialize Africa, integrate Africa, and enhance the welfare of Africa's households. In the area of energy, the bank has just launched a new deal on energy for Africa that will strengthen and scale up all the initiatives that we are undertaking, and on a portfolio of some $10 billion US. To feed Africa adequately, agricultural productivity must rise, as well as the incomes of our farmers in the countryside. The bank believes that agriculture must be seen as a business and not just a mere source of subsistence. A consultative conference was held last week in Dakar, which gave support to the bank plans to scale up its engagement in agriculture. Moving to regional integration, you know very well that that was the reason that our bank was created in the early 1960s, by the way, with support and the push from the Economic Commission for Africa. The INGA power project in this country is a good combination of the goal of boosting energy and regional integration in Africa. When completed, it might take some time, but when completed, INGA, at least to my mind, will be one of the biggest game changers on the continent for this country, for SADC region, and the rest of Africa. And then Africa's industrialization is also very important. We believe that that will be the only way to achieve sustainable development on the continent. So the bank has a lot of projects, it's undertaking policy dialogue to this end, and this area will receive a whole lot of emphasis at the bank in the coming few years. Lastly, Africa must raise the welfare of its people, not just talk about it, through employment creation and by eradicating gender gaps and reducing fragility in many countries. The bank will work with other partners to establish a $300 million facility for affirmative finance action for women in Africa. This money will be used to leverage a total of $3 billion from commercial sources, which is a factor of 1 to 10. So, Your Excellencies, I would like to conclude by saying that most of you have had labels coined about Africa, such as Africa Rising, Africa Lions, but all these labels will not mean much if they're not combined with the national efforts to eliminate poverty and ensure more equitable distribution of income and opportunity. African mothers, and indeed fathers, want to see more of their children celebrating their first anniversaries. They don't want them to die as infants. They also want to see malnutrition become a thing of the past. So, Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all and your government once again for accepting to host this year's African Economic Conference. I would like to applaud the great partnership between the bank and the UNDP and ECA that has enabled this conference to take place here in this great city of Kinshasa. Yes, now, not tomorrow, is a time to end poverty and inequality in Africa. I wish each and every one of you great deliberations in the coming few days. Thank you so much.